Good morning, guys.
How's the boys?
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome back, host.
Thank you.
The host running around the world.
Oh, it was a quiet week without you, man.
Not quite the world. I was in Cape Town.
That's the world for us now, because is there anything else, any other place we can go?
Yeah, you're right. Had an awesome trip to Cape Town, though, on Fly Safair. And it was a nice experience. We've been talking about traveling for the last however many months we've been doing this, but this was actually the first time I traveled. So.
And how was it?
It was cool. It was organized. I mean, look, hats off to Safair. The whole experience is so clean and neat and easy. It makes you want to go travel again. What to say? I think offering any tips here, it would be definitely to print out your health declaration before arriving at the airport. You've got to hand that in basically before you go to check-in. So, they send you your email beforehand where you can check in for your flight and you get that all done, but you don't always read all the other bits that go with it. So it says there, do you want to print out or fill in your health declaration, which I did. So I printed that out and then arrive at the airport, you hand that in. If you don't do that at home, you've got to sit there in a queue, get a form, fill it out. It reminds me a bit of, trying to renew your driving license or something like that, trying to fill out a form as quickly as possible. But yeah, if you do it at home, it's quick and easy. You hand that in. They do a full body scan to get your temperature. And once you're clear of that, you go and check in.
No COVID test though before?
No COVID test. And there was a poor woman, young girl. She was 38 degrees or something, but that was it. They were not letting her pass that point, and I assume that puts her in a 10-day quarantine or whatever it is, but she was not traveling. So it's quite a strict procedure.
But something interesting about that. So you get tested, or they check your temperature, 38 degrees, and that's it. They stop you right there. They don't double check you with another thermometer to see if that's
They checked her again, and it was 38 degrees, so that was it. They weren't letting her pass that point.
Wow.
But what do they do thereafter?
I don't know. I don't know. I assume she'd have to go for a COVID test, but it just means she's not traveling on that flight that she thought she was traveling on.
So it shows that the protocols are working. Yeah.
The protocols are there. Look, those health declarations, you fill them in. There's just a desk. I mean, look, Joburg was a chamos. Cape Town was organized.
It's always been like that.
Yeah.
Isn't that the norm?
It is. You arrive there, you throw your health declaration on a pile of papers, the height of Table Mountain, get your temperature taken, and then off you go. Cape Town was a bit more organized. But yeah, that's the extra step. Obviously, if you can't, only people traveling are inside the airport. You can't drop someone off at, again, a bit of a rigmarole. Joburg, you've got to go to level 3 to drop people off, and then you get inside the airport from there. The pickup yesterday, was at level 2 of the parking, so it's not that usual pickup and drop off on the outside. Cape Town, they had opened up the drop-off yesterday, and I'm hoping they're going to do the same in Joburg, because it's a bit of a mission in and out of the boom gates to pick up and drop people off.
But is it clearly identified? Just you can easily see where you got to go?
Not really.
Yeah.
There's about 4 or 5 roadblocks as you go in with, bribery and corruption going on before you even arrive at the airport. But
it makes me feel at home though.
Yeah, it does. It's like your last thing before you travel. But anyway, the traveling itself. So that's got obviously nothing to do with the operator of the aircraft. That's just AXA, their protocols they put into place.
Yeah.
Once you check in, it's an absolute breeze. Safair staff was so friendly. Everything is digital though, guys. You hand over you don't even hand over your ID book. You just show them your ID, and your boarding pass is on your phone, and you scan your own phone or boarding pass as you go through security.
So if you don't have a smartphone,
you don't fly.
Don't fly. Okay.
Look, I suppose they can print one out for you and that, but it's going that way. Cape Town and Joburg are not digital airports. You can imagine we spoke about Ethiopian airport or terminal. That's going to be even more so. But yeah, look, I'm sure they would make a plan, they would print something out for you and that, but it is going that way. Basically, you do all your own scanning. So whether it's on your smart device or your piece of paper that you've printed out, that's up to you.
What's nice is it's actually just making it a lot easier for you. You know, you do all your prep at home before you fly. You know, make sure that you've got your declarations, boarding passes, everything sorted on your phone, and off you go. If you organise like that, it makes your life a lot simpler. So
it does, and it works. The boarding process was so slick and neat. Quick on the plane. They're encouraging people to sit down as quickly as possible. They don't want people hanging around the toilet area during flights. They're making announcements all the time to people to keep their masks on and that, but you still get the morons on the aeroplane, you know, taking their mask off or standing up and doing all sorts of things. So they're constantly making announcements. But the air hostesses and air stewards, they were brilliant.
Cool, man.
Very, very
nice.
good and impressive. What the best part, you know what the best part about it? When you disembark, you're not allowed to stand up. You got to wait until they call your row. So they do 2 rows at a time, starting from the back and the front. So, you know, when it's your row, you stand up, get your bag, get off the aeroplane. Not this standing up, the guy in the middle of the plane trying to get off as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it used to drive me nuts.
Oh,
People
man.
would, before the plane has even stopped and the seatbelt signs have gone off, they're already standing up and fishing for their cell phones in overhead lockers.
And after a 10-hour flight into Paris, you got some guy with
Just became a
bad breath
stampede.
and bad BO standing, pushing up against you because he wants to get out of the plane.
When did you
What a
travel with
pleasure.
Ryan?
Nice.
just before lockdown was the last flight.
Yeah, no, jokes aside, hats off to Safair and a lot of Link planes obviously on the apron, and that's it, Safair and Airlink. Thank goodness for them. The whole traveling experience has changed, and it's changed forever.
Yeah.
You can see it. You can also see the damage.
I was going to ask you, what's the economic vibe in Cape Town? Few people have traveled.
empty.
Really?
Empty. Yeah, obviously there's. It just shows how many of those people that are there are tourists and business travelers. Very empty.
You're definitely going to see it in a place like Cape Town. I mean, it's all fair and well that our borders are open now, but chatting to some friends that are involved in the tourism travel industry, it doesn't help until our government lets leisure travel back in. Until that happens, it's going to be like that.
Well, the country restrictions are
It's madness.
crazy. I mean,
How big is that list?
I look at that list and it just goes on and on.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere else I can actually go?
Yeah.
There isn't.
But guys, look at the rest of the world. They're all going back into a sort of semi-lockdown. So we've always kind of been behind the curve, if I can use that word.
Yeah.
So we sort of experiencing the upward turn now. At least international travel is allowed. Until there's this vaccine, I'm sorry, not going back to normal.
No.
The digitizing is a big thing. I would just encourage if your parents are traveling or any sort of older people that aren't so au fait with using smartphones and things like that, just spend a bit of time and show your folks where to find the boarding pass or how to scan it and all those little things, because people panic. The person comes along to check your boarding pass and there's this sense of you don't know where to find it. It's a lot easier to have your old piece of paper. So everything is being digitized, so spend a bit of time with your folks and go over that stuff beforehand. Other than that, it was a breeze and well worth a try. The tickets were so cheap there and such a nice experience. Obviously no eating and drinking on the aeroplane. I don't know, go to Woolworths beforehand, buy yourself some biltong and a water and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Well, I think our flying experience is a little bit different to governments, with a bill coming from the Defence Force to the ANC for Ace Magashule and all his mates flying on the Defence Force Falcon. I wonder if they went through the same protocols.
I doubt that.
I believe that the catering bill was extensively higher than the charge per person. But
Put it this way, they didn't go to Woolworths and buy their meal time.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, anyway, so yeah, well worth it, go travel. And you know what's cool? When we arrived in Cape Town, obviously because there's no overseas tourists, there's a hell of a lot of places available to stay at. Places you ordinarily wouldn't have gone to. So if you want to travel, now's a good time to try it out.
And it seems like cost is still good.
Cost is good.
Yeah.
Cost is good. And I see Airlink now, they're advertising 5th of October, they're going to start flying to Polokwane. So the country's basically now getting up to, it's connected again.
Yeah.
It was a long time you couldn't, reach certain places. Fast jet flying between Joburg and Harare, their first flight was yesterday.
Yeah. Talk about that. I mean, and ticket prices. I came across some information where the airlines are starting to launch and promote their routes at the opening. I mean, some prices here, for example, Mauritius are advertising Joburg to Mauritius for 10,900 rand. I think that's return. Emirates to Dubai, quite expensive, 16,200 rand.
That was always an expensive flight if you weren't connecting.
Yeah.
Somehow when you connect somewhere else, that cost comes down.
Yeah. And then I looked Lufthansa to Munich, 10,000 rand. And then Lufthansa have started flying back into Joburg again, as of yesterday, I think so.
As of yesterday, Joburg, Frankfurt, and that's Cape Town as well. Cape Town, Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Good news. I saw when I was waiting at the airport yesterday in Cape Town, Emirates had just landed in a 777 and they got a nice water cannon salute as a welcome back.
Cool.
It was their first flight back. Nice to see.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Funny enough that Cape Town is throwing water around like that. Remember this time last year, there's no ways they would have wasted a drop of water, especially on an aeroplane.
No. If I take a holiday in Cape Town, it will rain every single day. So don't worry, there was enough water to go around.
Now that it's public knowledge.
Nice to see that, and nice to see things opening up. Obviously, the airport is a different place. Your Wimpy, Mug and Bean, they're all open, but a lot of shops closed. Exclusive Books was open. Just a different vibe. It's just different. That's the only way to explain it.
The new normal.
The new normal.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Last week's show, we called it Flights to Nowhere. People were buying tickets in Australia, doing a trip from your departure airport back to your same departure arrival. And Singapore were going to do the same thing.
They've stopped that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Qantas has launched another one. And you jump on this trip and you go and chase the Aurora Australis.
Really?
So in the south, around the South Pole.
Well, that's quite clever because now they're doing it for a specific thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's quite clever.
Flights to nowhere for me don't work. I like going somewhere. But I jump on that flight.
Well, I mean, they're ahead of the game then on Singapore because Singapore are just not flying altogether. They're turning the A380s into restaurants.
Oh,
hey?
Oh, that's nice.
It's like a pop-up restaurant or something.
On an aeroplane. And then Thai Airways, to try and make some money, are opening up their simulator training facilities to the public.
Okay.
So the public can go and book rides in a simulator. Not that cheap. Anywhere between 60 to 90 minutes is going to cost you roughly $320 to $1,200 US.
Wow.
But it's an effort to try and plug a few holes.
Yeah. Obviously, that Singapore stopping that whole round trip thing is because of the environmental impact. That's the only reason they're not doing the.
No
is that
way.
why they've
I
stopped?
don't think so. I think it's because of the moolah, man.
Yeah, I think they get big criticism from not looking at the whole environmental impact.
Really?
And the whole aviation industry is still under a lot of scrutiny to be environmentally friendly. Remember, this year was supposed to be a big jump for these CO2 emissions.
It was a big jump.
Yeah, but the airlines have had to commit to actually they're still going to abide by these rules that were set in place. They're not relaxing those things. So you got the airline industry battling this whole COVID nonsense, and the the environmental impact. So
there is a big push towards that because I mean they're already test flying hydrogen-powered aircraft. I don't know if you saw that article.
Yeah.
I think it's a little Papa Malibu or Meridian that did a test flight this week, purely powered by hydrogen. They're planning a cross-country flight to prove that it can do 250 nautical miles safely. And then, it's obviously all going to translate later on into the bigger gauge airplanes.
Well, while we're talking about hydrogen, we mentioned those 3 concept aircraft from Airbus last week that all run on hydrogen, 0 emissions. Just a correction, they're not drones, eh?
Not?
No. My friend of mine from SA, Neshav, just corrected me. He said, no, they're actually not drones. I'm not sure if they're 2 crew or 1 crew, but at this stage, not drones.
So
and let's also reiterate, this is a concept. It's probably a concept of a concept, this one. But it'll be nice to see. While we're talking about Airbus as well, they're weighing in on a 2-year furlough in production to limit long-term job cuts, considering reduced working time in production areas in France over the next 2 years to help the European plane maker limits job losses. So, and then there's a big thing there. They're going to look at, obviously, your production lines for your single-aisle aircraft will possibly need to be expanded. So they're trying to work on different things. It's not necessarily just across the board at Airbus. It's maneuvering from one side to the other. The last A380 has come off the production line. That's it. The last A380 is done.
Super Jumbo's finished.
It's amazing that the last one comes to an end, and it's been such an amazing aircraft. But then you have Boeing on the other side still trying to flog this dead Max horse, and they're just carrying on with this, trying to push those aircraft elsewhere. But it seems like airlines are accepting it, and Ryanair's taking theirs. But
Do they have a choice?
Well, they don't have a choice, probably.
They've already spent the money on this.
They've got to do something with it, I'm sure. But change the name at least, man. Do some marketing. I mean, Ryanair has to now launch something now that if you realize you're flying on a Max, you can say, forget it, I'm not getting on that plane, and they refund you your fee.
737 Pro.
Do something, for goodness sake, come on, this is $1 billion market company, and they can't think of changing the name.
Yeah, a lot of associations not happy with the rectification things on the MCAS system. ALPA even stood up and said they're not happy with your stick shaker going off. You still have to lean back and pull a circuit breaker. So I think it could be another 2 years before that thing is flying. Who knows? Crazy. But it is sad to see the end of the A380, and I think a lot of guys started their career with the A380 being your big goal to fly.
Your ultimate.
Craig Wood mentioned it on our show a few episodes ago. He said if your big ambition was to end your career flying an A380, you might not have that opportunity. In fact, you won't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
They just, the business model didn't work, did it? It just wasn't there. It was either too ahead of its time or too late. But it was in the wrong time.
At least there were a few guys that got to give it a bash and had the experience.
Look, it was around for a while. It wasn't just here for 5 years.
Yeah, but still.
Not like the 747. No.
Yeah, Lufthansa parking their A340-600s, and all their A380s are entering a permanent storage. They call it like cold storage, I think. They're not coming back. So the 340-600 is not coming back, but their 340-300s are still flying. Quite strange. The 600 is not going to be around, but the 300s are still flying. Yeah. Delta stored all their 737-700s. They're all sitting there in the Mojave. And what's quite amazing, all the 747 cargo aircraft that we're flying this year, their flying has remained constant the whole year.
Yeah.
So they're still flying at the same rate now as they were in January. So 747s are still up there from a cargo perspective. Who knows?
Just looking at airlines, I was reading an article on Air Serbia, and it's an airline that you probably would never think of. But they were considered one of the worst airlines in the world. And they did a deal with Emirates. Emirates gave them money, but then they gave them the know-how to turn that airline around. Obviously, it's a topic that's turning an airline around couldn't apply more to us. But just during lockdown, they asked for an extension or reduction on the debt. Emirates said no. And shortly thereafter, they paid their debt in full, and they are now considered one of the top-class airlines in Europe.
Really?
They're the fourth busiest airline in Europe, and they're just growing. So it can be done.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if our South African government had taken a leaf out of their book?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have 3 state-owned airlines that are...
Yeah. Sorry, it wasn't Emirates, Etihad. But still,
yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, well, we mentioned South African Airways there, so we might as well carry on with that now. The BRPs have finally suspended all operations until funding for a restructuring plan is announced.
Yep. It's going to be mothballed until then, and it doesn't look like Mango's doing all that great at the moment either.
Well, when you got the tail wagging the dog there, I mean, SAA Technical, the division of SAA, is now stopping all SAA and Mango because of outstanding payments. It's right, it's the right thing to do,
Yep.
but it's just weird that internally they can't even get that right. Crazy.
But it's not all doom and gloom. Fly Sachs, have you heard of Fly Sachs? I'm sure you have. Some former employees from SA Express have started a company, Fly Sachs, and they are now the preferred bidder for South African Express Airways. They've teamed up with the group Uprise Africa, which is a crowdfunding platform. And leadership group at Sachs. I'm not entirely sure who they are. They've started this Fly Sachs, and they've got to raise a whole whack of money to get SA Express up and flying again. And the thinking behind that is the employees now will be at the center of the ownership of the airline, as opposed to the government, as opposed to DPE. I don't know enough about it, to be honest, to even comment. I don't see how it's going to work. I just don't.
It's just going to be one of those wait-and-see topics.
Yeah, probably more wait than see, but see what happens there. We did our CRJ courses together going on 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We landed at Tegel in Berlin.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Their last flight is the 8th of November, and Tegel will be closed.
The entire airport.
The entire airport,
It's an iconic airport that day. It was really, really cool.
When we went there, our instructor at the time said, no, this airport's going to be closed very shortly, and Schonefeld Airport's going to be the main one. That was 2010. It's been a little bit longer than that, but 8th of November, Air France are doing the last flight to Paris, and then Tegel's closed.
Crazy, yeah.
Some entrepreneurs are going to go and buy that airport, turn it into an estate, and guys are going to be flying in with their own planes. Something like that.
Or a drag strip.
Or a drag strip, yeah. I can't see that happening in Europe, though.
Yeah, that's
True.
Boxberg Benoni, yeah.
You've been to Berlin.
I want to do this thing where I kind of have like a LinkedIn connection of the week.
Okay.
Yeah, well, maybe not every week, but every now and again you come across someone on LinkedIn that you make a connection where you actually get a lot of value out of it, someone that you wouldn't have known or wouldn't have seen had you not been on the platform. A guy, Benjamin Hall, have you seen his stuff on LinkedIn?
No, not yet.
He's a co-founder of a company, pilotbase.com. It's a tech startup focusing on helping pilots to be informed about the aviation industry and recruitment opportunities. Remember when SACS went under, you and me were on the recruitment websites filling in stuff. I tell you what, Brett, it's like filling in a form to get yourself released from jail.
Yeah.
It's the most complicated process you've ever come across in your life. You're not sure if you even qualify. You know you've got the right hours, but do you have the right license? We sitting here with our green Mamba passports, which don't help, the process. So this whole setup is actually there to help inform the guys. I'll leave all the details in the show notes, but check it out, pilotbase.com.
That's really cool.
That's very cool, actually. They've taken the initiative. He hasn't just started this now. He was actually flying for one of the Middle Eastern carriers and decided to move back to the UK with his family. So he started before COVID.
So do they simplify the whole process?
I think they simplify the process, and there's a bit more of a support structure involved.
Okay.
And what I like with his website, it's not all just about recruitment. There's a lot of stuff in there, what we've been talking about, transferable skills and all those things. So they've kind of taken the next step in the whole recruitment platform business, and I will definitely look at them as opposed to one of the other big guys where, let's just face it, I mean, let's just say it, when I applied at Air Japan, it was a flipping nightmare. Halfway through that thing, I thought, do I even want to fly for these guys?
Yeah.
If their paperwork's like this, it was so backwards.
But unfortunately, all recruitment needs a full makeover with every single industry, because it's a nightmare anyway. Someone who's just applying for an admin job, you got to give your pedigree. There's so many.
Yeah, you need 25 years experience to be an admin consultant these days.
Yeah. So these guys sound like they're onto something here. There's no doubt about it.
I think so, and he's a very cool guy. I've pushed some of his stuff, but I like their site. I like their whole concept, and I think they're onto something. I said a weekly LinkedIn connection, we can mention, but it's important because these are the little things that you pick up, and it influences your own thinking.
Yeah.
You see something like that and you say, hey, this is, I want to support these guys, or maybe you can use something that you've seen or an article that you've read to help adjust your own thinking going forward. So that's my LinkedIn connection for the week.
Well,
cool.
My shout out this week, you can see the artwork here, and this looks like prints, but these are all hand drawn by Catherine Queiroz, and she does Catherine Queiroz World of Art or CA World of Art on Instagram. We'll put her details in the show notes, but that's another thing of just someone stepping out saying, I'm going to do something different. She hasn't drawn for 30 years and suddenly she started drawing, and this is the outcome. I mean, absolutely beautiful pieces of art.
They're beautiful. She does, Kate does our graphics and that here at Sim Aero as well for our documents, and she's brilliant.
Very well done. I mean, for someone who's not particularly interested in aviation or involved, I mean, to have that amount of detail in an aircraft drawing is pretty awesome.
And if you look at them carefully,
you
just see the detail in them.
It's amazing.
Absolutely brilliant.
Well done.
Yeah. So thanks, Katie.
Thanks, Kate. And if you need, like I said, don't forget, if you need documents and stuff drawn up, she helped me a lot with sorting out some documents and that. There's some things that you just have to hand over to a professional.
Yeah.
You can get so far by yourself, and then you look at it and go, am I happy to hand this to a paying customer? Then you need a professional to go
But
to.
it also comes down to what's the value of your time. We can't sit and draft documents and make them all right. First of all, we don't have the knowledge. It's going to take us triple the amount of time. Hand it over to someone who knows exactly what they're doing.
I fully agree. And can you believe that's 30 odd minutes already?
Well, before we go, not that we're going, but we got to say, from Sim Aero, cheers to our United Nigeria crew. They've all flown back, so they've been here for 6 months. They've missed birthdays, they've missed wives giving birth back at home, they missed huge amount of things, but the guys have all got through, and United Nigeria is launching now.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's actually quite sad. They've been here for so long, they felt like part of the company. But it was a very difficult time for them, being away from their families for so long. And cheers to our United Nigeria friends.
Yeah, wonderful crowd, man. And it won't be too long. We'll be seeing them all back again for their recurrence. So.
I think they're going to ask for a 12-month recurrence.
One last thing, we're talking about Nigeria there now. On pilotbase.com, they've got a little interactive map of all the bankrupt airlines in the world. Shows you on a map, in different colors as to how many airlines have gone bankrupt. right on the tip of Southern Africa is South Africa, and the only airline that's showing there as bankrupt is South African Airways. The rest of Africa, SA Express didn't make it on there. I suppose it's a bit Mickey Mouse to be on
it's a bit touchy subject still.
But I suppose. But the rest of Africa seems okay.
We've been saying that all along, though. I mean, African airlines have been looking healthy, relatively healthy, right throughout this whole sort of period. So,
just having this last 2 weeks, the clients, Samero clients, are coming in thick and fast. The bookings are filling up at a rate like we've never seen before.
Yeah.
So I don't have a client who has indicated that they're bankrupt. Not one out of Africa, and we deal with pretty much every single airline.
Well, we called it on episode 1, eh?
Yeah.
Africa will be more resilient.
That's the truth.
Let's hope it stays that
Yeah.
way. Obviously, this whole thing works in waves all the time, and it just depends where you are in this whole thing. We want to talk a little bit more about the charter companies next week. I think we can start going into that a bit, and because our charter companies, they don't get as much of the press as we talk about Safi a lot and Link and even SAX and SA. But the charter companies, they are such a critical part of our tourism infrastructure in South Africa, and they play a vital role. One of our main tourist attractions is these beautiful game farms, and without the charter companies, look, unless you want to drive, but without the charter companies, you're not going to get to some of these game farms. So I want to look at them a little bit and see how they've been affected, and possibly ways of supporting them as well. So that'll be next week. Listen out for that. Episode every week. That's the beauty about an episode every week. You can touch on what's important there and then. So we're going to carry on. We're not stopping. I cut my Cape Town trip short to get back to sit here with you imbeciles. To have a chat about,
you just following me. I cut my bush trip short by a day.
When it's my turn to go on holiday.
You're not going on
You're
holiday.
not going on. Thanks, guys.
See you next week.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.
Ciao.
Well, that's all for this week, folks. Thanks for listening and for your continued support. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already, and pass the show on to your friends, your families, and your colleagues. If you'd like to get in touch with us, my email address is in the show details. Stay positive, keep the passion alive, and we'll see you next week. Cheers for now.